It's been such a joy to watch USA play yesterday, and I think they're going to bring it today.
All right, guys. Well, it's time to get into our first matchup of the day. It's going to be United States versus Brazil. Let's send it over to our commentators. It's going to be ZP and Hexagrams.
Thank you, Golden Boy. I'm ZP here, rejoined by Hex once again. And Hex, today is where the USA is looking to secure their playoff berth as Brazil fights to stay alive.
It's a match that's about 5 months in the making. When we first ran into these Brazil guys, they've all been playing together for a long time, had some taste of going into Western tournaments, but now no more 100-plus ping. We're on land, and I really want to see how this Brazil team matches up against a team of Western All-Stars.
No doubt about it. And Brazil, they did show flashes of brilliance yesterday where they caught Chinese Taipei off guard in the first map, but then Chinese Taipei, they were able to adapt and figure out how to fight Brazil. The question is here today, can this USA team, which is very talented, replicate what Chinese Taipei did a day ago?
I tend to agree with the desk that I think Brazil needs to go back to their guns. Ride the horse that got you there. Go triple DPS. I think that's when they did their best. Trying to force a diva into the meta, I understand. Diva's very strong and it sometimes feels necessary, but you have to abandon those kind of adaptations and just go with how you normally play.
And that would be very like what we saw in the Sydney group stage where Spain tried to come out with the diva, didn't quite do so well with it. Then they went to triple DPS of their own and actually had more success. So that would not be unprecedented right now for what we've seen so far in the Overwatch World Cup.
Well, very fitting here in the United States of America in Los Angeles. We're going to kick it off in Hollywood. I wanted to pander a little bit too. Everyone's like having so much fun pandering to the crowd. I'm not above it. We all know that.
Well, you have a crowd that's this great. You just want to involve them in any way possible. But here we go. Hollywood will be underway here in 10 seconds, and it will be the United States taking the attack first.
The interesting thing about this Brazil defense is they're running some things a little bit non-standard. Lico's going to be on the Reaper. Reaper used to be a staple on this Hollywood map, hiding in corners. Always check your corners, people. United States should know that. And they're going to run a defensive Sombra. The offense of the United States, very simple dive composition, but they're going to be running Sinatra on Zarya yet again.
The United States coming out the triple tank setup that we saw from them yesterday. They feel very good about this. Sinatra, 80% energy. This band, it's unfair. A nice start here for the United States already. Pushing Brazil back, dominating space, throwing them back to the cafe. It'll be the United States picking up 4 kills to open this up.
I talked to Sinatra a little bit yesterday, and I said, dude, how do you do it? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know what happens. I have no idea how this works out for me. Very reminiscent of the United States opening yesterday. They did the exact same thing. Bully him back into the cafe, and they will take the first point with ease.
That was ridiculous. It was even for a little bit. The USA pushed them back, and then suddenly, immediately, 4 kills coming in. A full team effort for the United States there. And Sinatra already opening things up so incredibly strong.
Sinatra, he does it his way, of course, and he's just been a power for this team, already at 75% towards that Graviton. He's keeping that energy up, and that's the eraser, as we called it yesterday. He wipes it over people, and they are gone. Brazil has to find some way to regroup. This is a stage where you can stabilize if you can just win a fight.
And the United States right now, they have the tools to keep the momentum up. Brazil's looking for stabilization, but they get down Neil early on, and here comes the U.S. once more. They get rid of the front line of Brazil. Brazil has nothing they can really do now to secure space. They have to back out. And Jake, pulse bomb, special delivery to the back, not quite going to connect, however.
Well, Jake misses that pulse bomb, but we talk a lot about Sinatra. The reason that they can run Sinatra on this Zarya, his most comfortable hero, is because Jake is the Swiss Army knife of this team. He can play every single DPS. You see him right now on Tracer. They have a grab up. Sinatra's going to look to get it in there.
This is where Sinatra builds the Gravitons very quickly. He's measuring the Brazil team right now, looking for his ability to drop it in. He's under pressure, but there's the grab. Just going to sell for the tanks, and that front line of Brazil will be falling as fact piles on a self-destruct to clear the way for the United States.
This has been extremely one-sided for the United States. It has been all red in the kill feed. It should be red, white, and blue in the kill feed, am I right? And they get all the kills. Brazil has gotten almost nothing going for them this entire map.
This has been ridiculous. It's the United States, when they've been winning these fights, they kill everyone at just about the same time. It has been consistent progress from everyone here, and Brazil has been very much unable to take this even on mechanical level, as now the United States, they already got the point, and Brazil, they came to contest it.
They were coming out to contest just a little bit. I'm trying to find a path to victory for Brazil here. Lico is on that Reaper, but it's been so quiet for him. Do you think they need to be aggressive and engage on this? They're just getting pushed back.
The problem for Brazil is that their tank front line is unable to even get a foothold versus the United States. We see their Winston and Diva go down very quick in these fights, but that's going to help. Calero, Zenyatta versus Zenyatta, able to take down Raucus. This is an opportunity for Brazil as they do rush right in.
The maps do shift throughout Overwatch. You get a defender's advantage the further along you go. You do see teams more stabilized on second and third points more so than first points often, and Brazil's finally gaining some traction here.
Sinatra has built up yet another Graviton, now looking for the opportunity. Fact Fiction, into the back, gonna use the Primal Rage. This is Disruption, and now Sinatra looking for a grab of his own, while Fact Fiction pushes them back. Raucus seizing the opportunity, comes in the Transcendence in the United States, diving very deeply into Brazil here, but yet to get a kill off this as Dudu strikes right back.
Well, it's a nice job of staggering the support ultimates. Perhaps the sound barrier earlier for Brazil was unneeded, but the Transcend was in their back pocket to be able to negate that Graviton right there. They are finally pushing back, and some nice stagger here to make sure that Cool Matt stays out of the fight in that Pilot Diva form.
So the crazy momentum the United States had in the very beginning has slowed down here a bit. Brazil has gained their footing. The question is for how long, and we do have a swap up here. Sinatra no longer on the Zarya, going the Tracer for this last moment. The United States will be going in with this double flanker DPS setup.
This could present problems for Brazil. They said they've had a hard time finding teams that run a pure dive, having not had the practice against it, and now the United States goes to that very pure dive composition that we see. I want to see if Liko can come off the top rope here. He's got Death Blossom.
He does have Death Blossom, but he doesn't have health right now. He's been getting poked down. He can't really dive in and use it here just yet. But Jake falling. Now it's 5-on-5. Sinatra working his way to the back, creating an opportunity for the United States. They can use the sound barrier to really give themselves an edge in this fight, but they're playing it slow.
They haven't needed it. There's a sound barrier because Fact Fiction got very low, and it allows him to Primal Rage, and he puts them all into the corner. Matt's back there to help out as well, and Fact Fiction creating so much space. That is 3 kills for the Winston player.
Never enter Fact Fiction's corner of fun. The United States gonna take this first round.
Well, you hear that crowd going nuts, and why not? Only a small hiccup towards the end as the United States rolled through the first point, rolled all the way through Westworlds. Brazil stabilized a little bit, but CP 303 in the time bank on Hollywood.
It wasn't just 3-0, that was also one of the most dominant performances I've seen from any team in Overwatch, going through all the different matches we've seen for the both first point and second point. Brazil just simply fell over in those early fights. They did find their footing a little bit into third, but the United States was able to set a very quick time here in Hollywood that will put Brazil under pressure when they begin their own attack.
I'm still confused by how Sinatra enters a fight with 80 energy. It was the exact same thing as we saw yesterday from him. The first time we put the camera on him, he's got 80 energy and he's just pushing people into the cafe. It's unfair.
He just has incredibly good game sense for how to build energy as a Zarya. He knows what damage is going to be coming in, and the perfect opportunity to put up those Zarya barriers to gain that charge. So Sinatra, it's not just his aim that's good, his game sense is also sublime.
He does know where to use those barriers, keep his teammates alive, and his teammates also know to go take damage. It's really hard to play around as Zarya, who's always letting her aggressive flankers take that damage early on, and then you have to deal with a fully charged Zarya. So we'll see if there's a plan from Brazil to deal with that offensively. We'll see what they come out here. You can go for a Widow, just grapple hook over the top. United States looks like they're set up on the defense, and I would be very surprised if Jake is not just sitting up top on the place we call the cafe. A great spot for a Soldier 76.
No doubt about it, and we've seen Jake hold on there plenty of times. It is a great spot for 76. It's where the front line of the United States, which has been playing very well, not really giving the tanks in Brazil much room, they can create that room for Jake, so he doesn't really have to worry about people diving too heavily onto him.
An interesting strategy coming out from Brazil. They're going to run an offensive Sombra, so Calero's going to try to find a large pack for his team to camp around and try to get an EMP. Looks like they're going to rotate down to the left side where that giant pack is, and they're still running Liko on the Reaper. A little bit underwhelming, but perhaps just trying to find an answer to the United States tanks who've been so strong.
Well, Reaper oftentimes can let your tanks win these tank battles because you can have the Reaper be protected by your tanks as it goes in, but hold the phone. Brazil going to dive right in here. They come in from both sides, and they demech Matt immediately. This is a much better start for Brazil, but Fact Fiction fighting right back. It is 5-on-5 in the fight, relatively even as Brazil backs out of it.
Well, Liko's going to go down to that big pack, so you already see the EMP already up for Calero. Fact Fiction poking around. They can't really expect the EMP to be there already. EMP comes off as the cleanup there for Brazil.
It's a nice EMP that lets Dudu finish and kill the Fact Fiction, but Sinatra, he's in the back. He's still keeping the United States alive. And don't forget what we saw yesterday. The United States, even when losing players, was able to maintain their presence on the point, and with the early kills, and the MP doesn't matter. Jake gets the cleanup necessary with Sinatra.
The mark of a dominant DPS player is winning in situations you should not win in, and the United States has clutched on it time and again, where they lose players early, something goes wrong for them early, but you still have Jake and Sinatra, and they can simply outdo all their competition.
You look at Sinatra, he was actually diving really deeply there, was able to get back with a last-moment rewind. He is playing with fire, but thus far, he has yet to be burned. He has a pulse bomb up. He's going to be looking for that early kill as Brazil postures for positioning here once more.
Well, Brazil had to reset, though, because they've changed compositions, which means Liko is going to be a bit away from his blade, and Calero is going to be a bit away from Transcendence. So the economy in USA's favor.
Well, Jake right now, everything in his sights from the cafe. It's going to be a triple kill from Jake, finding everything he needs and more. And look at the space that Jake has right now. He wasn't even remotely threatened in that fight.
Poor Diva, trying to go home. They will not be able to go home. Oh, a beautiful stagger on the dart as Mira is napping on the job.
Oh, that was brutal. That is barely allowed. What a stagger.
Brazil, I think, wanted more out of the United States. They were trying to bait more ultimates because they understood that they were behind in economy, because they did reset their composition. But the United States has been so good economically. They only used the visor. They didn't burn barrier. They didn't burn anything else.
Well, we are down to the final minute 30 here, and if Brazil invest the ultimates they have into this fight, this might be the last really good window they have. They're going to dive right into the cafe. They want to give Jake a bit more pressure here, but as they do that, Fact Fiction gets into the back, finds Calero, and RA Brazil working with a lot less healing in this fight as they're very much under pressure.
The United States has been so good about taking out supports, and Fact Fiction goes primal on them, takes out two. Liko and Alamo already down. Raucus, if he needs it, will have the boost towards the end. We are below 60 seconds now, ZP. Brazil has to find an answer.
And Brazil invested a lot into that. They don't even have the punching power they need. What their real opportunity here, Hex, is if Dudu is able to get an early pulse bomb, but that's difficult with how the United States is positioning.
You need hero plays right now, and Liko on the Genji can provide that too. He's going to have blade up, you're going to have pulse bombs. Blades and bombs are going to be everything in this next fight.
And now Brazil leaping right in. Final fight for them right now. 33 seconds. Looking to get any early kill, but the United States playing around them right now, but they're getting post. Liko into the cafe, slicing his way through. He's going to cut through this US defense, but will it be enough?
That was the hero play they needed. It's just Sinatra alive and some long-range shurikens. Put an end to that song and dance as he is down and out. They will capture this first point, but it is late on the capture. 10 seconds remain. They get a couple more minutes, though.
The problem here for Brazil is, remember what the United States did on their attack. They flew through first and second. Now Brazil has to make up for lost time. If they want to really entertain the idea of bringing this map back, they need to be nearly flawless going here through second. They cannot get gummed up.
Well, United States is going to try to take top control back. Raucus takes out his counterpart in Calero to start this fight. That signals the retreat. United States could be very, very aggressive. There's a lot of teams in the U.S. who play this style, and they're used to being able to spawn camp. United States trying to take it back. They're in the cafe again.
Sinatra channeling his inner memories of Selfless right now as he gets very close to the and finds Calero. Revenge for Raucus, says Sinatra, as the United States gets firm control of point A, which they just gave up.
That's true. It is take it back, I suppose. This is great because a lot of teams are just not used to playing against this. When we saw this very early in the Western scene, it took a lot of teams a lot of time to adapt of, we're not used to playing how to just get out of our spawn, and you make the other team burn ults.
Jake's on the flank right now! Calero had no idea. Now he has the visor. He is looking for this crazy flank. Trying to deal with the Genji. Will end up falling, so perhaps not the absolute greatest here as Brazil will start to get through, but this is very good stall from the United States nonetheless. This payload has moved very little.
Well, it's great from Jake to not burn his tactical visor, which I thought he might end up popping out right there. But US now punished for their hubris, standing so close up front. The cart will finally move, but the US with a nice stall. They know that their enemy right now is not necessarily even the Brazil team, it is the clock. They are fighting seconds.
1 minute left here for Brazil, and they have a long way to go in second, so even if they're able to win everything, it will be in overtime before they get to that second point. The United States playing with house money right now. Liko going to the back, gonna pump the blade. Jake finds him, looking for more. Under pressure, gonna get pushed back, and the Transcendence will mark the end of this blade doing anything. The United States, they double down, they throw the sound barrier after it, but Brazil, they get a very good disengage.
Well, Matt Gubb's over the top trying to nerf this. They do end up trading on self-destructs, but both supports now down thanks to the tanks of the United States. It is Liko having the hero game that he needs to bring this team back. He takes on the supports of the United States. A brawl down there with no healing on the field.
If Liko doesn't get Jake early in that last fight, that does not go nearly as well for Brazil, but Jake, he's back in and gets two. Both flanking DPS down. The revenge of Jake is true, and we are down to our final 15 seconds. Brazil on the verge of losing map number 1 to an absolutely dominant US team.
It's essentially 5v6 because Mirrors is out of mech right now. He's trying to use the light gun to get it back. They finally take him down. That Diva's out of the fight thanks to Rockets.
Brazil now has to win a heroic 5 versus 6. It could not be more against him. Jake gets a Bastion! Bastion on the field! Suddenly, Brazil wondering, why is this happening to us? We're in overtime. They cannot leave the cart for any reason right now, but they are getting thrown off as the United States will be taking control. And now, if Mirrors is not able to get the point, that's going to be it. United States taking map number 1.
See Jake smiling right there. Not often you get to bust out the Bastion. But you know what? It's a valid pick right there because you have the long sight lines. The only thing that's going to stop your tanks and shields to stall at the cart, Bastion shreds tanks.
That crowd is absolutely electric right now. They love what they're seeing. And the United States, one step closer to securing a playoff berth tomorrow. A strong start for the hometown team.
You know, some of our European colleagues say, like, well, you know, we shouldn't think about chance, but the USA doesn't really have a good chance. And I was offended. We have the best chant. It's simple, easy to remember, and it packs a punch.
Oh, you see here Sinatra deep diving, throws in the pulse bomb, finds Calero, and this is the pressure that the United States was throwing onto Brazil that entire time, where Brazil could not even count their own spawn areas as a safe zone.
You can look at this United States team and talk about any single one of them, but as we ran up to the World Cup, you and I both agreed that I think the underrated parts were this tank core and the tanks playing together. And you saw it in Hollywood yesterday, you see it in Hollywood today. They are pushing the other team back into situations. The DPS are flanking on it, but towards the end, Fact Fiction just bullied them into the corner.
And it's not even just the tank core. We have been seeing moments like that. It's also that the United States makes it a priority to destroy the other team's tanks. Their DPS are focused on helping their Winston Diva take out their counterparts. And so far, Brazil has not had a good response, where Brazil is always having to try and fight for position without their front line really either being alive or in the health to help.
Well, Brazil told us that Hollywood was one of their pocket picks, one of the maps they felt most comfortable on, did not go their way there. They do think, however, ZP, that their best game mode overall is Control as we enter into Ilios.
Well, Control is where they might be able to strike back here, but you don't want to sleep on this US team and their mechanical ability in a map like this. Now, let me ask you this, do you think we're going to be seeing more Reaper coming out of the Brazil team, and do you think it was effective?
No and no. I don't think it was effective at all. Liko didn't really even get a good Death Blossom off. He was getting poked down too much, didn't find his right position. I think their best chance is putting Liko on the Genji. You saw there that those were the fights that they won, those hero blades that came out. I think maybe they could try to run Reaper. They're almost forced into it because of how good those tanks have been playing. You need to punish back for his dives. It hasn't been happening. It does seem like right now both teams are queued up on a little Pharah v Pharah. Of course, the Mercies will be along with them. It can be a volatile matchup, so we'll see who can hit those air shots.
Well, this is going to be very interesting because Brazil, they're looking for a tankier push on the ground with the Reaper supporting, but they want to keep the aerial threat. So we'll see how this works out as you said, Jake taking to the skies. We will have Pharah v Pharah in action here in just a moment.
Interesting that the other Pharah not necessarily pressuring out early. Very good jump from Jake to get a lot of damage boosted rockets early on into the house as the fight goes onto the ground. The ground war is so important as the Pharah v Pharahs do not even really focus on each other. You just got to be careful. You cannot take splash damage up there.
Jake right now really focusing on the other Pharah, but Adam throwing them into the water. Everyone taking a bath, and Jake, the exclamation points, winning the Pharah on Pharah battle. What a start here for the United States.
Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full as Jake takes him out of the sky in the Top Gun battles right there. United States with first strong control. This stage of any other stage on Ilios, so important to get the first control. It's so wide that it's hard to evict a team fully off of it. Hard to take the point back for Brazil.
And now the United States, multiple victory conditions here where we know that Matt and Factfiction have been doing well at holding out space. Sinatra in ambush position, Jake in the skies, and Raucus will have a resurrection up. So multiple ways they can take this next fight. Sinatra into the back, onto Lucio, no! Liko shuts him down. An opportunity here, but the resurrection is on deck.
They absolutely need that defense for their supports because the United States is so good at focusing down supports. Raucus does solo res Jake. You will see that very often when you're running a Mercy, bringing back your most important counterparts as the United States stays alive. Factfiction has Primal Rage ready.
Factfiction just holding them back almost single-handedly, really creating space there. Has the Primal Rage that can bring back in, and even though Brazil was able to get the early pickoffs, it's not going to be enough. The Sinatra gets to work.
The reason you use Resurrection like that is because look at this. Rock is already at 80% again, so why not bring Jay back to life? And Jake is so important, the Fair is so important than Mercy because the vertical escape factor. On the ground, Mercy is ground beef, but in the sky, she's very elusive. Sinatra continues to cut up this Brazil team.
We are at 70% to 0 right now. Brazil already on what could be their final life as they try and find a way here on the well stage of Ilios. Jake, though, in the sky, holding onto that barrage.
Brazil has been able to run as Soldier 76 before, but they are way too committed. All right, that is a beautiful start. Dudu comes alive. It's able to take down his counterpart in Sinatra.
It might force out the resurrection here. They do. United States, they burn the res to stay even. 6 on 6 on the point here. Now Calero, does he resurrect Neil in turn? He does. Both reses have been used. No one else is coming back up here. It is even, but with Raucus going down, this puts more pressure on the DPS of the United States to bring it back, and Jake does.
That is a lot of damage. Wow, a double kill from the barrage. A rarity indeed. Mirrors will finally take him down as Jake was standing static. Beautiful blaster from Matt. That has been his signature move on D.Va. The bunny blasting of Matt will take down the opponent, and it is all USA. Brazil needs to touch the point, will not get there.
When you demech Matt, you need to send out an alert to your supports and let him know that a baby D.Va is hunting for them. It is something we've seen from Matt over and over again where he gets demeched, runs for the supports, and actually gets those kills.
Light gun ZP does a surprising amount of damage.
It does.
Matt has done it time and again. It's silly. It's really, at a professional level, you don't expect a D.Va to get back into the mech, and Matt has defied those expectations time and again, tournament after tournament, doing it here again. This, ZP, you know, is my favorite stage of all of Ilios because we get to see some Widowmaker sometimes.
This is my favorite control map, period. And part of it is that sometimes I do have a little bit of a Widow main in me, but seeing Widow plays on this map, they are exciting. It's where a team can open things up in a way that you can't on other control maps. And Raucus, this is for real. He is opening up on the smug purple lady.
Well, this is the United States secret weapon. Raucus is their support. He's their flex support, but he's also the best Widow on the team. United States has such great versatility. They're also running it in the same style that other teams do with the Sombra as well. The battle over the left pack and this perspective right now is going to be huge as both teams running a Sombra.
Jake right now going for health pack control while Raucus looks to control sight lines. Hasn't gotten a pick up yet on the Widowmaker. Still looking for it. Jake finding that Genji right now, not able to finish it off before the health pack is claimed. Back and forth for both teams, but with Adam going down, Brazil might now be able to get an edge as they start pushing into this US team.
The issue with this composition that United States is running is it works really well if you can get control early, but to wrestle control back, it's not as good. You don't have the people on the ground, you don't have the presence. With a Sombra being invisible and a Widow out of the fight, you simply don't have the bodies to take the point back.
And so far, Raucus has just not gotten very good opportunities here just yet. He's been looking for them, but none have presented themselves so far. He's been looking a lot at Liko deflecting in his face. So for Raucus, the question is how long does he stay on this if he's not able to get those key pickoffs?
Maybe a little bit more, maybe up until he gets the infrared sight and is able to try to get picks there. EMPs will go back and forth as both electromagnetic pulses down. Sinatra, the first cleanup, takes on his counterpart, but rather bloodless after that.
6-on-5 situations where a Widow can even pile on. The infra sight is up. Everything in Raucus' sights as Sinatra dives to the back line with the tanks. And the United States, even without the Widowmaker pickoffs, looking like they should be able to re-flip control at this point.
It's a little back and forth as Buras does combine and get a couple of eliminations there. The United States able to take the point back as only a few of the tanks remain. The cleanup should be there. And you mentioned the DPS of the United States have been so good at focusing down tanks. Raucus comes alive, takes down 2, and now they're in a great spot. With control of the point and a Widow, it's tough to take it back.
And this is where Widowmaker can be very good here, where Raucus can be a little bit more far forward. Can poke at Brazil before they can even get in on his team. The tank line of the United States can still make a lot of space here, so this is more in Raucus' hands. But Sinatra soon to have a pulse bomb. Multiple threats on this US team.
The person who's going to have to deal with Raucus is going to have to be Liko. If Neil goes in, the United States is so good at falling back and dealing with those tanks. You need Liko in there. The sound barrier comes off. Liko does actually bust out the blade, backed down. Calero takes out his counterpart back and forth as his self-destruct falls in the point.
This is very back and forth, but the United States is still in firm control right now. Raucus not able to find those early pickoffs, but it hasn't really mattered. The United States has been able to create very good zone control, and Sinatra still a threat, darting in and around, chasing down the Baby Diva, doesn't want the rematch, and gets the kill just in the nick of time. That mech will not be coming back anymore.
You mentioned Raucus not necessarily getting the picks, but just picking Widow changes the scope of the battlefield. You don't have to fire a shot. Brazil knows that they can't run up through center. They know these sight lines. It changes how they have to play around things.
And now, going to the next find, you're absolutely right. They are more cautious on their approach. Jake, though, holds on to the EMP. Brazil now, they have to worry about the Widow. They have to worry about the Sombra. Multiple threats right now that can really hurt them on the engage. The United States, they're playing back, looking for time. And Jake, how is he going to do this EMP engage? He's looking for it. He gets Liko even without the EMP.
That's brutal. Sinatra also piles on. This fight all but over for Brazil already. What was interesting there, do you see Fact camping that pack on left side, is because he wanted to make sure that his Sombra could control that pack. It is so important not only for your team to use that source of healing, but to deny the other team that source of healing.
We're down to final 96%. Brazil might not even get a chance to get on there. It's Jake as spawn point EMP. 3 kills for the United States, and that will give them the map. A strong, a quick 2-0 for the United States.
The versatility is insane. Jake was playing the supporter's role of Sombra. Raucus, their support, playing the DPS role of Widow. That's the United States secret weapon right there. They can run everything.
The crowd is loving it right now, and United States, there is a question as to how strong would they be, how would they look. Some teams thought, okay, they looked good against New Zealand, but what about Brazil, which is a full team? Well, the United States so far has looked great.
They've looked absolutely dominant. This is what we're looking forward to. How can Brazil play against the United States? Who can match up with the United States in this group?
Well, to break that down and more, we're going to be throwing it right back to our desk. Stay tuned. More Overwatch yet to come.
All right, well, thank you so much, guys. And wow, I mean, what a start for Team USA. You know, really, that Hollywood run was just absurd. You know, but in any case, Flame, I want to just throw it over to you here. What were some of the plays that you had noticed that you think stood out in this match?
I mean, I think we're back to where we were yesterday. We have this situation where you have Brazil playing D.Va, and they're not a team that combos well with the D.Va, that protects their supports well with the D.Va, or even does really enough damage with the D.Va. I think it allowed Jake to kind of get away with a lot of murder on Hollywood. You saw him on the high ground. He got off a really nice tag visor, and then we wound up going Bastion. And people are like, oh, why is he going Bastion? But it made a lot of sense, and I really want to highlight a little bit of it in terms of why it worked and how it worked. So if we could get that on the screen, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
so let's go ahead and, let's just go ahead and jump into the highlight there and check that out and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so right about here, he's like just kind of set up. But if you look here, they're in overtime. So it's like, why are they on Bastion? When should I go Bastion? I don't want everyone playing Bastion and ranked, but in this situation, it's actually really good because you wind up in a situation where all of the team needs to get to the cart because it's overtime. And suddenly nobody has the time really to flank to him. Like you can't come around from here because you need to be on the cart. And you wind up in a situation where it's all on the enemy D.Va to really shut down that Bastion's fire, but everyone's just kind of funneling into this natural choke right here. And if they don't have time to look at him, then he's just going to get away with murder, which is what we saw while he was playing.
Yeah, well, for a lot of people, they would look at that and just be like, oh yeah, he's trolling, right? But that's not the case here. It actually, because of the fact that it was in overtime, they needed to shut it down, and they knew that no one was going to be able to get to the back line and put that pressure on the Bastion. It just worked out very well. And then, of course, the dance. But, I mean, that's just that.
Well, so you just mentioned this too, that Jake was flirting with the idea of Bastion a lot yesterday. What was your read on how his team was going to react to that?
Yeah, I mean, every time he selected him, like, you saw some, like, communication going down there. So I assumed the second, no, Jake, bad Jake.
No Bastion for you.
Don't you dare pick Bastion. Today he got to do it, so I'm sure he's pretty happy.
Yeah, he earned it on Hollywood, I would say.
Definitely.
Well, I know who is not happy with that. And that was Team Brazil. They certainly weren't too thrilled with how it worked out. But the thing I really like about this team is that they are a very impassioned team. They wear it on their sleeves, right? And that is one of the things I really have enjoyed talking with Brazil. And the good news is we did get an opportunity to catch up with the Brazilian squad and get their thoughts.
For all of us, it's a dream here to come to US and play a game that we love so much. And to me, I mean, it's the perfect type of game. It's fast-paced, it's team-oriented, it's individual skill. It's like a combination of perfection, right? I'm extremely excited to represent Brazil because it's your nation, you have that national pride. We don't really have a competitive scene in Brazil, so everybody in Brazil is cheering for us. They want us to succeed, so it brings attention back to our scene. Our team atmosphere is really good, so it's really fun to be around the guys all the time. We've known each other for about 10 years now, and we've always enjoyed being around each other, playing any game we could. We assembled a team, started playing tournaments, won them all, and here we are. This is the big stage, this is the World Cup. We're here to turn up and show everybody what we got. I think the most important thing the other teams won't expect, we tend to play really on the face of the enemies, and I think most people don't really expect that. They expect a more methodical way of playing, and we're not going to bring that. We're going to bring aggression all the way, man. Our main goal, too, is to surprise people, show them what we got. They don't think we can go that far, and we honestly believe we can. We need to go to the big stage and show people that we're capable of being here. This is our main goal since we discovered that we will be the national team. Here, the lights are already on you. Imagine in BlizzCon, it's the top 8. You made it big. You got to go even further. That's the dream. So for us right now, it's the whole world, man. To go to BlizzCon, to qualify right here, it's the only objective we had since March, I believe. So it's everything. To go to BlizzCon will be everything for us.
There you hear from Team Brazil. Again, a team with a lot of passion, and that is one of the reasons why I've become a fan of them personally. And, you know, Zoe, player to watch it, we actually saw him in the video, was Lico. He has been having a great event so far.
He really did. And I mean, yesterday he showed us that he has a very deep hero pool. We saw him on a Reaper, Soldier, Genji, even D.Va, and their actual D.Va player, Muris, said that he's actually the better D.Va. Lico is actually the one they prefer on D.Va, however, they still run Muris on D.Va, so let's not talk about that. Anyway, he's been performing really well for his team. Unfortunately, they couldn't really, you know, like, taken advantage of that.
Rally behind that.
Yeah, rally behind that. But we saw it on Hollywood, right? On the back of an amazing Dragon Blade from him, they actually managed to get that first point. So I very much hope that they somehow manage to rally behind that and make those big plays happen.
He really has set the tempo in a couple fights, Flame, which has been pretty impressive. Although, like, you know, in certain instances, right? Although it's been tough because they have been, you know, they've been getting thrashed, to put it lightly, by USA. That's lightly. It's been hard for them to be able to do that. But Lico has had those moments where you see the shining light, and it has come from his Genji.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw too in those player interviews. You saw Dudu talk about how they're just aggressive and how they don't really play around the ults. They're kind of just this ragtag, scrappy team, and they rely on their deathmatch so much more than I think any other team here. So it's weird for me that they're still trying this D.Va. Like, it's starting to really make me mad because I think that it's time to get rid of it. I think it's time to bring out the 76 on Muris. I think you let Lico stay on the Genji and let Dudu do what he's doing on Tracer. So they wind up with a lot more damage. They don't need their ults. They can just kill you. They shoot you in the head. They throw some pulse bombs. There's a lot of other ways to get kills other than ults.
Yeah, fair point, fair point. Flames triggered. Rachel, who's your player to watch going into this next two matches, next two games?
You know Golden Boy. It's a veritable buffet of talent here on Team USA. It was hard to choose, but I'm going to go with Raucus right now. We saw him do amazing things on Zenyatta yesterday, including kick and ulting Genji in the face. And he brought more of that fire here today, switching from the Ana to the Zen. We saw him on Mercy doing great plays with Jake, and then a little bit of Widow for some flavor there on Ilios. This guy can do it all. Amazing accuracy, whether he's playing support or DPS, so I love to see him play.
I just want to throw in, I don't think that that's actually his SR. I hope nobody really at home thinks that was his SR. He actually is known for playing in the top 10, in the top 20 regularly on DPS characters. So him playing the Widow isn't actually that crazy, but I definitely don't think he's stuck in Masters.
Well, you know what? We'll see how the Masters Raucus plays here, jokes aside. But it seems like we are ready to go for our next two games. The question is, how will Brazil respond here? The pressure is on for the Brazilians, but for Team USA, they just want to let the good times roll on. Let's send it over to your commentators for this matchup, ZP and Hexagrams.
Thank you, Golden Boy. Hex, we are back here with map number 3, and the stakes for Brazil could not be larger. If they lose this map, any scenario where they can come back into the playoffs will be gone.
Luckily, we are probably going to Horizon Lunar Colony, which again is supposed to be one of their pocket picks. But Hollywood was also their pocket pick, so they need to show a little bit more here. However, I think Assault might be a little more variable. I agree with Flame 100% that what they've been trying to move up some compositions, not been working. I need Liko on the Genji, and for Assault, we know especially, you need closeout dominant fights. Genji gives you that possibility.
No doubt about it. And the thing here about the US team is that they have been survivors. Even when they are the victim of early pickoffs, they're able to bring things back. So what Brazil needs to find here, which they could find with a more DPS setup, is dominance. They need to take these points in absolute, a full take. If they don't have it as a full take, well, it's probably going to be the USA fighting right back.
I think they just need more damage. It's really all it is to it. Finish those kills, start the fight, and start the momentum rolling. The United States have been able to pull back fights with their one-on-one duels. You need that extra third DPS perhaps to bring in that extra damage so that your 1v1s are going your way rather than the United States way. I think that could be a good path to victory for them. United States will kick it off here on defense. So do you see anything out of the ordinary for the United States team? But
no, nothing out of that ordinary at all. The one thing that's worth noting is that they are not opening up here with a triple tank setup that they have been more prone to doing. Instead, sticking with the more tried and true. Although one interesting note is that a lot of times when teams run a dive comp like this, they run it with a Zenyatta. Instead, they're going to be running with the Ana.
Sinatra feeling good, just dancing. Why not? I mean, he's got a lot to be dancing about. Brazil, for the moment, seems like they are really dead set on running this Reaper. I think they know that the problem has been dealing with the United States tanks, but Liko's really not been able to get in position to deal with them.
And Brazil, they are going to be coming out here with the D.Va once more, so any idea that they'd be moving in with the triple DPS comp, not so much going to be the case, but they will be coming up the right side here early on. Liko in the front line, looking to make his tanks win this tank-on-tank battle. The U.S. right now simply flexing back, but a lot of pressure on the cooldown will force him out.
He was on Matt all the way. They also discorded Matt too to try to get it done, but meanwhile, Sinatra terrorizing the backline yet again, takes out Clara. However, now even trades as Jake goes down in turn.
And Brazil, though, able to find their way through. The first 3 kills going their way, and the United States defense has been caught off guard. Liko now turning into one of the best janitors in the game. We know Reaper can do this as fights break down, cleaning up the remainder of the team, or at the very least pushing them out. So Brazil going to get the first 2 ticks here. The United States, though, still might try coming back in.
They are kind of shuffling around the point as though they want to come back in and contest, but way too late now, and they might get caught out in this transition as Dudu trying to find some supports back there. Does have Raucus in his sights, a pulse bomb ready, doesn't want to use it necessarily. Not able to find the kill with that ultimate.
But finds it with the pulse pistol, so still an opportunity here for Brazil. They are not giving the U.S. any quarter right now, immediately moving right back in, but the United States able to strike right back, punishing Brazil for going too deeply, and they will get the stabilization that they were looking for.
But I liked the theory behind Brazil right there. They saw the United States was not set up on defense because they were milling about, thinking about taking that point. So they tried to catch him in transition, didn't work out, but the idea is good. Liko, please nail a Death Blossom. He's gonna have it shortly. I haven't seen a good Death Blossom in quite a bit. They toyed with the idea of running a Rhine, but got off of that quickly as well.
Well, the thing about Death Blossom is that it's very difficult to get a good Death Blossom when you have a D.Va like Matt that's constantly suppressing it. But here comes Brazil. They're moving in. Jake countering with the Dragon Blade, slices through Neil, finds Alamo, and goes for more. And though Brazil gets 2 kills of their own, it's just not going to be enough. What a deflection.
You didn't even need to. It's just style points. That is Jake just having a little bit of fun right there. Could have ended it with shurikens. Dudu does exact a little bit of revenge, but a small price to pay as the United States stabilizes. Yet again, what's been so impressive about the United States is that they win these fights with single ults a lot of the time. A single blade, a tactical visor, a single support ult. They're almost always ahead economically when it comes to the ultimate advantage.
And the good thing for the United States going to the next fight is that they will have the Primal Rage and Self-Destruct. 2 things that are very good at making space on final points for Assault, where you can deny the other team a decisive take. However, Raucus goes down early. Brazil, a 6v5 opportunity. They should be dropping the beat here in just a moment to make this even more secure. The United States, they have to now use the Primal Rage to buy themselves some space.
Well, the Self-Destruct going to come up and get them off of the points as Liko does fall to that. That is so much punching power and shuriken power out of the fight. This one is essentially over. Brazil, time and again, have started off with different comps and switched to different things, and essentially you're giving up an entire fight when you do that. Liko has to wait. He's not going to be near a blade because he was on the Reaper. Now they want to run a Reaper again, and it's going to be Miraz, who was on the D.Va. They've switched a lot, and it always puts them a little bit behind.
Anytime you go for those swaps, you lose ultimate progress. Meanwhile, you look at the United States. They might have had to invest tank ultimates, but now they have a sound barrier. So they still give themselves tools to win in every fight. They're going in for Adam immediately. That's going to make it a little bit hard for the early sound barrier, but Rock is able to get away somehow. Still, Matt is demet. It's a 6v5 for Brazil, but the United States, they drop the beat and roll right back in.
Dudu's done a great job of getting to this back line. He has been harassing the supports, getting them out of the fight, and then taking down the tanks. Fact, Fiction, and Adam both go down. One of the best pushes for Brazil so far. Although Mura is out of the fight, they need to get this clean. They pop a Transcend on the defense.
The defense right now is a bit in trouble. Brazil applying the pressure, and Liko looking for more. The blade is out, finds Adam, dives right in. 2 extra kills here for Brazil. They are well on their way to their first tick of progress right now, and the United States is struggling.
Jake tries to come out on the Bastion, but gets pulse bombed on his way out the door. Still, it's been excellent stall for the United States, denying all the progress. None of this progress is permanent just yet. It can revert, but there's been nothing in the kill feed for the United States team. Now, they have 33%.
Fact, Fiction uses the primal rage, is immediately taken down. The focus fire from Brazil, great. And they have more tools yet to come. The sound bear's out, and there's the Death Blossom to the back. Finds Adam, and the pressure continues to pile.
It's been all Brazil. They will at least have 66% progress if they get pushed back, but I don't think they will, ZP. They do drop the beat, and they continue the cleanup. United States has not gotten anybody on this point.
The United States have done a good job delaying, but they haven't done a good job actually pulling it back. Brazil, they're almost there. They just need a little bit more, and that will be a decisive take for Brazil. Could a turnaround be in progress?
This is why it can be so frustrating with Brazil, though. Why don't you just run Liko on the Genji the whole time? I mean, they obviously have the best fights when Liko's on the Genji. His dashes are good at coming through. He works well with Dudo to get to the back line. The switches have been somewhat baffling to me. Now, it puts them behind.
It does put them behind. But one thing I want to ask you about here is, did you like the Ana coming out from Rockets there? Because it felt like Brazil was getting a lot of mileage off of using the Discord Orb very well and taking down the United States tanks, which is historically a US strength. They didn't have a Discord Orb of their own there to sort of keep that even.
Well, you can be of two minds of it, because the Ana should keep those tanks alive a little bit better than a Zen would. So if you're playing defensively and you want to keep your tanks alive, that's fine. But also, Brazil did go into a more dive composition, which Ana can be a target against. So I generally just default that Rockus is probably smarter than me, so he's probably right there. But I see the point you're making. I think they put so much value on keeping their own tanks alive that Ana is a good pick there. Despite being discorded, if you can just pump those darts into the back of your tanks, it's hard to take them down regardless. But didn't work out for them there. 308s in the time bank for Brazil as they did finish Lunar Colony.
Now, as we look to the pressure that is on the United States here, is that not only do they have to capture point A and point B, but they need to do so in a good enough time. If they capture point B, but they only have a minute left, that's not going to be very good for their chances of taking this thing in the end. So the United States now must be as swift as Brazil was a moment ago.
United States probably wishes they could run 2 Mercies, like the good old days, because Adam, even though he's on the Lucio, probably one of the best Mercies on the entire planet. There was a whole meta where Adam, I don't think, died for 3 months.
He was very good at shaking pressure and staying in the air, and of course, C9 was his team back then, and still is, but he was able to shake that pressure with the help of what was once a very good tank frontline. But now the United States moving forward with the Sphere Mercy combo.
Rocket's going to try to stay alive. Damage boosted rockets in over the top. You call your rocket damage, and then you let your tracer on the ground go clean it up with those damage boosted rockets. Not always enough to one-shot, but enough to get people very low and out of position. Jake's doing a great job using the geography to keep himself out of harm's way.
This is a lot of damage coming in here from Jake. That's going to be pushing Brazil back and let the United States take very good positioning without getting poked down in turn. Adam, under pressure, able to shake the pressure. Healed up by Rockets. Big mid-air rocket coming in, but the fall through, not quite there. Still, though, the U.S. in a very good spot right now if they can convert.
Oh, solid healing to keep Liko alive. You need to hit double rockets in a row and a lot of things to be able to get those confirmed kills. A lot of poke damage. It has been relatively slow going. That's one of the things with a pharmacy combo. It can be slower than others, but they're taking positioning here.
They're taking positioning, but Brazil is weathering the storm very well, but not anymore. Hail right to the face. Goodbye, Liko. Call your insurance on that one, and here comes the barrage. It's still raining. It's all Jake right now, and he has opened up this point for the United States.
One of the better barrages you will ever see. That is 3 kills. He comes out of the barrage stance, able to take down Neil as well, and Jake Sparrow has absolutely come alive. beautiful as we check out the replay here. And also what's unnoted there is that Matt was keeping him in the matrix. That's why he's able to live through that barrage.
Well, speaking of pressure right now, the United States not wasting any time, immediately onto the second point, Brazil, but Fact Fiction going to fall down early. Raucus, though, holding on to the resurrection. He will likely bring him back up unless he dies himself. Muriz ends this for Brazil and pushes the United States out.
A nice stabilizing fight there. Oftentimes we say that your first push on assault last, assault second, if you will, is your best push. You would generally have ultimate advantages, you generally have momentum while the defense tries to set up. It's really important that Brazil was able to hold there.
One thing that's very interesting is that Raucus actually is swapping off the Mercy. He had a resurrection in store, but feels like the Zenyatta is so important that he doesn't want to stay at the Mercy, even in this situation. As the US, not wasting any time. Discord orb on the Winston, Sinatraa in hot pursuit. They're looking to put this fight in their favor already.
Well, also a difficult point for Afera, so you don't necessarily need the Mercy. Fact Fiction does come in, takes down Liko right there. That's a great start to this fight for the United States.
United States working the corners right now. Still everyone alive, looking to take this slow and steady, and they do. Sinatraa, 2 big kills, aided by Raucus over the top. A very safe spot here for Zenyatta. Can mark people at will, protected by Jake as the United States halfway to their goal.
They continue to clean up. They've got 66%. That progress will not revert even if they get pushed back here. As Sinatraa remains unchecked on the ground. Is he wearing the cloak of invisibility? No one's even fired at him in the last minute.
The thing is, they're not looking at Sinatraa because of what Jake is doing on the top, and Brazil dying by the dozens right now, not able to stay on the point, and the United States, they even it right back up.
Even it up maybe, but 2 more minutes on the clock for the United States there. Much faster time.
It's much better for the US, and what that means is that we will be seeing the teams swap sides once more. Brazil, with less time remaining on the clock, will be the ones taking the attack, and the pressure has completely flipped. The pressure was on the United States after the first Brazil attack, and now the United States, the pressure is off a little bit.
We prophesized coming in here that we would see Farah and Mercy most out of the United States. It is simply the North American style. These teams are used to playing it. They're used to playing against it. And it's also good against some of these international teams that maybe not be used to playing against it. It is a completely different style. You have to fight in the skies. It takes a lot of focus to be able to take down a combo effectively.
It does take a lot of focus, but what I thought was interesting is that Brazil did handle the Farah Mercy well for quite a long time. They were holding back, not giving Jake great opportunities, but all it takes is one good sequence of rockets to get a key kill and then give you the space you need to dive in safely and really pile on right after. So for the US, they were patient in turn, they found their opportunity, and they went right through.
The only real answer Brazil had for the pharmacy, though, was Liko on the Genji. You can have anti-air Genjis, but he went to the well one too many times, and that was the kill that really opened things up for the United States. USA, of course, will be on defense this side as we do switch sides here. Jake on the 76 on defense, and again, they're going to try to run Liko on the Reaper. It did work on the first point, but it's going to put them behind if they don't run it again on the second.
Right now, they're diving right in, looking for early targets. They almost get one, but
Anti-healed.
the US flanking from the side, picking off both supports. That will spell an end to this push.
It's another great reason to run an Ana in this composition. The anti-heal came in. Lucio generally should be able to reboost himself back up to full health, but the anti-heal and working well with Fact Fiction. Fact Fiction and Rock is, of course, teammates used to working with each other. Longtime teammates.
Very much so. So the United States, a much better defense here early on, and I like how they took the initiative here. And wow, they... All right,
That's a great stall. That is a great stall.
Word to the wise, when you go out in space, please bring your spacesuit so that doesn't happen. Diva, you should have known better.
In space, no one can hear you scream, Diva.
Oh man, I don't think we've ever seen that before, at least any games that we've cast.
That is an interesting spot right there. Brazil will reset, trying to get back in on this offense, and yet again, they've switched off of the Reaper and put Liko on the Genji. Makes you wonder, why don't you just run Genji?
Jake under pressure, but Matt puts him in the Matrix. He gets healed up immediately. He's able to shake the pressure, and oh my goodness, Alamo tried to go in. He's taken down. Both supports down once more for Brazil, and their dive on the Jake does not work as Jake gets his revenge.
They go on the backsword. There goes Diva again off of the edge. Jake is going to get a lot of the credit, and this reminds me of his former team he used to be on too. But Jake lives in the Matrix. No one can shoot bullets at him. He can dodge bullets, but he doesn't need to because Diva's eating him up.
Well, Diva might not be eating him up any longer. I mean, we're just adding more and more divas to the pile out there, so I don't quite know.
No, but it's cool Matt who's always behind Jake. That's the reason that he's able to play so aggressively, is because Matt's just always got him covered.
All right, Brazil, 1 minute left, looking for their opportunity, and they open up the primal range. Liko, though, gets pressured out. Boost the back out. He ends up boosting Adam, holding on, dropping the beat with his damage. Has not actually used the sound barrier just yet, but can use that moment, and there it is. The beat is dropped. The U.S. trying to hold strong.
Well, despite the boostio, Matt does get D-Mac. Jake trying to get back in here too. He's been a terror on the 76. They're getting pushed off this point. The positioning really good for Brazil as they push them back. They will transcend as they try to finish these fights. That's a great peel onto the Dragon Blade, but Liko eventually will take down Adam.
That was still very good for Adam. He delayed Liko for a long time, made him use the blade only on him, and the U.S. can still get back onto this point. They still have enough people alive to contest. They will lose the first 2 ticks, but they have tools
tanks
coming up here. Yeah, both tanks can dive in, and Jake will have the attack visor. So the United States, they get another opportunity to flip this back. They have very little room for error now, and losing Raucus, we'll see how it works, but Jake
not quite
making room.
It's very close as Jake hits a huge helix on a dude that does a lot of damage now out of the fight for Brazil. The tanks don't need to get kills, they just needed to buy time. Time still being bought as there is a Lucio on the point. Matt comes back, takes out his counterpart, and the United States has the body count on the point to be able to take this.
Matt right now, bunny blastering away onto the point, gets back into the mech, and still delaying right now for the United States. 1 against many right now is going to get D-Mac. This might be the head. Matt against the world, but Brazil will take him out and get control of this point.
Very close, but even just buying the time there, very good for the United States as we are just about 20 seconds left for Brazil. They will have 1 push at this last point to get as much progress as possible.
15 seconds remaining, not any ultimates to use with it, but if they can get a clean mechanical kill, they can have a hope and a prayer here as the United States have reset the defense. Brazil moving in for the final 5 seconds.
They are on triple DPS. Mirrors is on that Reaper right now as they try to come in. Liko with a good entry kill. Will D-Mac back. That is 3 quick kills, actually 2, sorry.
We're in overtime, but Brazil, they have hope right now. They are throwing the United States back. Jake gets the nano boost, does force Brazil to give him a little bit of space, but here comes Liko. The blade is out, looking for victims, and no, he's not gonna find anything. Where is the other team, he's wondering. But Brazil, they've still got 2 ticks.
Where's Jake going? He's just on a wild tour right now. Back Fiction able to take down 1. You need to see blue in the kill feed for the United States if they want to take this point back. They get a couple kills. Brazil not with the cleanest of fights as Matt re-enters the fray.
Brazil really could have used that Dragon Blade in a different position as the United States comes out of spawn. Now they take control of the fight, and it's looking like Brazil's progress will end at 73% on second.
Jake running the distraction 76, just running away, just getting his sprint on. Was a good distraction. You know what they did against the blade? It was so great. I mean, Adam with the peel early on. So if you're gonna get bladed on, just give up 1 life or do a distraction. Make them waste the blade. The thing that will absolutely gut your team is getting double killed off a blade or 3 kills off a blade. It's one of those great ultimates that can really snowball a fight. And the United States was able to tourniquet the bleeding that's inflicted by the Dragon Blade.
They were, and they definitely played around it in an intelligent way. Now, though, as we look to this next round, the United States will have about 5 minutes to get in through most of second. This is actually somewhat defensible here from Brazil, where, yes, the United States went through with a quicker time than that the first time around, but you cannot guarantee that for your second attack. Brazil does have a pretty good shot of taking this map if the United States cannot find another swift attack.
They need to go all in on first point, I think, and at least stall it out for a decent amount of time. 5 minutes seems like an eternity here on Lunar Colony. And again, the United States win condition is just to get about 74% on last. Do not even have to full cap it here. So Brazil's going to have to find something. They should know what they're going against, and it does seem like they do. With Mures on the 76, I think they're expecting the Pharah play again.
So they will be throwing more pressure on the Jake, but one thing you have to remember is that Jake is going to have Raucus in his pocket. Murray's is going to need a bit of support on himself if he's trying to win that battle against Jake, because if Jake's getting healed, Jake can still take out 76 despite the hit scan advantage in that setup.
Calero has to help him. Generally, you have a Zenyatta to be able to help on this combo, but you need 2 pieces to take out 2 pieces. It can't just be the 76 alone trying to deal with the Pharah.
United States right now coming in from multiple angles. Jake on the left side, Matt on the right. Jake just looking for rockets to open this up. laying them into the back line, had supports in his sights, but is not diving here just yet. And this is very reminiscent of the last US attack where they were patient and just probing for weakness.
They're doing a great job of staying back and out of sight lines. Lico is able to come in and get himself out again. Last time it was when he went to the well, the second time that Jake was ready for him, he was able to punish and open up this fight. Now back in the corner, Calero falls to a rocket.
Jake was on the hunt for supports, and he got one. Now the United States with a 5-on-5 here, but they're going to bring Fact Fiction right back up. They are slowly taking this point away from Brazil, and Brazil just bleeding player after player. This should be the United States' point.
Jake able to hit a huge rocket onto Lico, and you're right, this absolutely should be as Adam takes down his counterpart. It's very similar to a Widow, where you don't have to get the eliminations, but you're changing positioning of a map. They have to hide in the corner against the rockets, and that allows the rest of the team to swoop in and clean up.
4 minutes and 5 seconds remain for the United States to get just above 73.5%. If they're able to do that, they will take this map and put an end to Brazil's hopes of going to BlizzCon proper. Brazil, though, still fighting for their lives, still fighting for a chance. We'll see if they can hold off the United States.
And that yellow triangle of victory on the second point marker there, as opposed to the yellow box of victory. They're just setting up right now. Fact Fiction looking for someone. They know that there's a sound barrier in the field now. Lico comes in, gets Jake, but the sound barrier going to mitigate some of it. Rock is down. This fight all but over thanks to Lico's Dragon Blade.
The beat can only do so much, but one thing it did not do there was stop Lico from getting what he wanted, decimating the United States backline and giving Brazil some badly needed stability.
The United States showing their versatility here as they do switch some combinations up. Sinatra is on the Genji. I think it's one of the first times we've seen him on there trying to match Lico's Genji to Genji. But now the United States actually in a tough position. They're going to be pushing into EMPs for a while.
The EMP here can be very good for Brazil, where even if that's the only ult you have, it can be great. They EMP the backline, and now they dive in. They get Raucus immediately. But the United States, it's not a terrible disengage here early on. They will have D.Va get D-Mech, but they're still fighting it back, and we know just how deadly Matt can be even without the mech. He's going in.
Of course Matt's going in. Matt able to bunny blast her down due to surprising amount of damage. Might be a headshot, and that opens things up. Sinatra gets the blade out, does not find everything he's looking for, but softens up some targets for Fact Fiction to finish.
Matt was not able to get back into the mech, but he did do his damage. The United States now a dominant position on the point. They've picked up one tick already, looking for more. Jake, plenty of room to work. The United States just need a little bit more. They almost have it. Will it be enough?
Desperation EMP comes out. Desperation Blade will not going to be enough as Fact Fiction able to Tesla down. Nico, the United States trying to get progress, throwing bodies at the point, not there in time. United States up 3-0.
The United States, they came in a little bit shaky here on Horizon, but they were able to finish strong. And with this win, Brazil now has to relegate themselves to playing the world spoiler, as the best they will be able to do is 5-map wins.
I just admire people with the confidence to wear eagle heads. I couldn't pull it off. It's a look that I could not pull off. That man's a patriot.
That man is amazing.
Or woman, I don't know.
Yeah, true.
It's hard to tell with the mascot.
Well, take a look here at Sinatra, of course, a consistent threat here for the U.S. team. Just almost being invisible at points because of all the other threats the U.S. was throwing at Brazil. Consistent damage coming out here from this Tracer. Very important to the U.S. taking that point.
Absolutely there. And the thing I still question is the switches that we're seeing come through there, and I think their best play has been with just Lico on the Genji. And if you want to run a Reaper, that's fine, but put Miraz on the Reaper. I think you have your heroes and the hero plays that we've seen, Dudu and Lico, Genji Tracer, you try to clutch on that, you rely on that one the most.
So now we take a look at the tail of the tape. The United States up 3-0 over Brazil. If you're Brazil and you want to make a statement, where do you bring the United States to next?
Well, their favorite escort is Route 66. We haven't seen a whole lot of Dorado. I do believe we'll probably be going Route 66. They've gotten most of the map picks. It simply hasn't worked out for them. Lunar was probably the closest of the maps. I would imagine we're going to go get our kicks on the desert highway out here.
Well, what could be better for Brazil than beating the U.S. team, not only in America, but on an American stage, Route 66. So if they are going to make a statement, perhaps this is where it will be.
That twangy guitar means that we are headed to Route 66 in that diner at a cup of coffee that tastes like, I believe Mr. McCree says, boiled dirt.
You know, personally, I've grown accustomed to that taste. It's what I actually like in my coffee, Hex. I'm not much of a coffee connoisseur, but Yeah, I don't think McCree actually has it right there.
Probably not. I think it would surprise no one that I have a rather bitter palate, so I like my coffee to be pretty awful as well. There's Big Earl's, the gas station 24/7 service. So what do you think Brazil needs to do here? Do they need composition changes? Do they need style changes? Is it an aggression thing? I mean, what's going wrong?
Brazil looked best with two elements on Horizon. One is when they did win the tank battle, and they won the tank battle when they had very good focus on the mat early on, got him out of the fight immediately. The second thing they did really well on was plays with Liko on Genji. Anything they can do to support Liko more, just have their supports throw more love his way, really give him the maximum opportunity to get the most out of his Dragon Blades. That's a way that they can find a way in.
There are several teams in this tournament and in even previous World Cups that they understand we've got one player and we're just going to go all in on him, especially Genji players or Tracer players. You think of players in this tournament, in these groups actually, like Logix, that's going to be our go-in guy. And you think in past tournaments, Shadowburn, we're going to put all our chips in on Shadowburn's Genji. I think it's absolutely a viable strategy. Brazil will be on the offense first, and we've actually got a little bit of McCree.
We have McCree, but we also have Liko here on the Diva, which means we won't be seeing his Genji. And oh my goodness, early pressure already coming in from the United States. No part of ground given up for free here as they find Alamo immediately.
Well, I mentioned earlier that Mercy without a Pharah is essentially ground beef, very easy to take down without those vertical escapes. I think they're just trying to run this damage-boosted McCree, maybe getting a little bit fun with it.
Well, they're looking for something right now, but they're definitely not finding anything. As the United States, it is a wall of damage coming out that's really stopping the Brazil from getting to the payload right now. They can't really get through this wrecked train, and this is really good pressure coming out of the United States, but the game plan from Brazil seems a little bit disheveled.
Well, this is the style of the Sombra defense as well, and maybe the McCree is supposed to be an answer to that Sombra. That's a nice jump from Neil to take down Jake. They know that the United States likes to run Sombra defense on this map. They try to check the corner for the packs, and Sombra's bad against McCree because he can stun her and she can't get out with a translocator.
The US right now is going to flick right back around. There's the EMP, and they go right in. Jake or no Jake, they take the opportunity, and it's a big one. It's a clean sweep, and Brazil thrown right off that payload.
Poor Winston down into the canyon. Well, they know that the United States is running this strategy. It's just a matter of how do they deal with it. Raucus now understood that there was a McCree on the field, so he's going to be extra careful. You don't want to get flashbanged and stunned out as Sombra. It's one of the only things that can really control a Sombra. Brazil has changed their composition, though. Again, they go Liko back onto the Genji.
Goes back onto the Genji. Raucus right now getting close to another EMP, throwing the pressure into the back. But here's the big thing. Jake has the blade, looking to the back line. He was in hot pursuit, decides maybe not this time. Has to back out as Brazil starting to get a little bit more progress. But the US, now they have the EMP, they are primed and ready to go right in.
Raucus going to try to find something, but the Transcend comes out early. Raucus is able to take down due to the blade out for Jake, unable to find the targets that he's looking for. We'll find a pack, and he gets gifted a Zenyatta onto his lap before that Zen's knocked away. All the USA in this fight.
And the US, they don't have to burn the EMP there. That is still going to be up here for this next fight. The Dragon Blade was enough, and Brazil finding themselves down to their final minute 45 right now. They have to find a way through this EMP and pierce on through.
Hoping to clutch onto their own Pharah and Mercy combination. Mira switches to the Pharah, Calero onto the Mercy. It is the second major composition switch from Brazil so far in this map, as they've only got it in around first bend thus far.
United States right now holding, waiting. Here comes the self-destruct over the top. Will there be fireworks? Not quite yet. It zones him out, and Matt isn't able to get back into his mech, so he's punished as Brazil now finding a way in.
That's a really nice play from Alamo, actually, to make sure that Matt can't even get back in there. It's a beautiful kill to get a pilot Diva, and they're piling on right now as Mirrors and Claro have found the damage. Dudu will stick a pulse bomb onto Fact Fiction. However, the card doesn't have the progress yet. USA might be able to fight again, but a great fight from Brazil.
So after the self-destruct, which is more akin to a self-sabotage, the United States has found their advantage, wilting away here so far. They will have another opportunity to get back here on to the point. Here it is. Over the top right now, looking for targets. Brazil trying to dominate the areas that the United States is trying to come back in on, but it's Liko at the blade. Takes down Raucus and is looking for more.
It's a great counter pick to be running this pharmacy right now because the United States doesn't really have much to deal with it. They have the 76, but the 76 needs help from his supports. He gets domed right there. However, Sinatra trying to single-handedly bring this back on the ground.
Sinatra right now, he's not under pressure really at all, able to dart in and around, picking apart Brazil when they're not looking, and that is big. The United States has fought this back. We're down to our final 18 seconds. Brazil, can they extend time on this map? or will the United States hold them right here?
They need to regroup, and Calero will likely get to his resurrection in this fight. He has to be the prime target for the United States to make sure they don't get a second chance coming in due to also nearing his pulse bomb.
Brazil right now moving right in. They have the sound barrier at the ready. They're going to need to use it soon. They're looking for early pickup kills. We are in overtime. The United States, if they win this fight, it ends here. The EMP comes out, and already Calero is down. Both supports are down for Brazil. They are getting picked off left, right, and center, and the United States on the verge of a first point hold, and it's looking like that it will, in fact, be the case.
They couldn't lose the Mercy. They lost her early. Mercy down, Lucio down. The United States with a dominant defense on Route 66. Brazil tried to find answer after answer, a glimmer of hope for them, but the United States responded in turn.
Now for Brazil, if they wanted to play spoiler and bloody the United States a little bit, they would have to have an even better defense here on Route 66 and hold off the United States even further back. It's not something we see all that frequently, but it can be a possibility.
It forces them to run a Sombra defense, though. The Sombra defense is one of the only compositions that is able to play as aggressive and upfront as you need to stop them before they get around the bend of Big Earls to that yellow box of victory. And I think they're comfortable running the Sombra. They're used to playing it. They've shown it time and again. But the United States, as it's their defense that they run, are also comfortable playing against it. So a Herculean task ahead of Brazil to be able to stop the United States just before first point checkpoint.
At this point, Brazil certainly playing for a bit of pride, but the United States, they want to go in as strong as possible for day 3 tomorrow. So we'll just see if they can get to this yellow box victory here in just a moment.
So I was distracted by the whip sound.
Every time I hear the whip, I'm just like, I'm trying to keep a straight face. Who knows what that whip is used for, Hex?
Round him up, round him in, rawhide. Yellow box of victory on the ground there. The United States, if they reach that yellow box, the rhombus of victory, they will go 8-0 so far in the World Cup qualifiers in Los Angeles, California, United States of America. Brazil, of course, has to run the Sombra defense. They are setting up right there. Calero there to hack the pack. United States gonna look like they want to run a Reaper of their own.
Jake getting a little bit of Reaper time in there, but to your point, Calero is going to be the centerpiece here for Brazil. If they're able to hold the United States back, they're going to need it off of very good pack control and very good EMPs. A single misplayed team fight here for Brazil could spell the end and a clean sweep by the United States.
They're going to bully right through here. I think they're going to try to speed boost Jake through the corner there. He's going to have the defense matrix on him. They know exactly what this strategy is. They are camping that pack. They are not letting anyone come back there. If Samba translocates to that pack, she is going to be met by a unwelcoming greeting party.
United States right now looking for their way in. Calero getting pressured out, and he's only at 40% right now. He has not been able to build that much ult percentage. His team has not been using the health packs as much either, as now the United States taking advantage right now, looking for a key early kill. Brazil getting poked down on all angles. The United States is in a dominant position, and they're going to deback that diva.
The United States took control of the first big pack, and now we're camping the second big pack right now as Sinatra does find his way to a couple of kills. Jake goes down as he's getting very aggressive, but it is the only kill. United States so close to wrapping this up.
The United States right now marching to victory. They only need a little bit more. Brazil, will they be able to contest in time? Calero trying to buy some time, sacrificing his body for the cause. But will it be enough? Housey Neal diving right in. It is already desperation time here for Brazil.
Both tanks out, trying to just get some stall. They're not necessarily looking for kills, but Sinatra's got the blade out. He's able to take one down. Him and Jake have been the Bash brothers throughout this tournament. They continue to do so, lighting up the kill feed. United States sweeps Brazil.
United States put on a show on day 1. Day 2 was no different. Against the highly vaunted Brazil team, they are able to take not 1, not 2, but all 4 maps here in this series, and they look to be dominant heading into day 3.
You can go on your forums with your doubts, but as I said yesterday, this team doesn't care. They know what they're capable of. They're showing the world what they're capable of. The United States has looked great so far in their home turf.
All right, guys, and now to break down the game and perhaps pander to the crowd, we're going to be throwing it right back to our desk.
Oh, ZP, you know me so well. Team USA comes out on top 4-0 against Brazil. Not a bad showing for the Americans, and I think this crowd would agree. Maybe? Yes? There we go. Easy. Easy. ZP, you were so right. You know me so well. America. So, that being said, not a bad showing. so far for Team USA. Rachel, I'm sure you're happy that the boys performed here.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Jake, who showed us, I think, 7 different heroes over the course of these 4 maps. Really an incredible depth of hero pool. And what a great team to constantly be working around him. I told you to keep an eye on Raucus. He brought a lot to the table, wrapping it up with a Sombra plays at the end that really locked down Route 66. And Flame, I'm sure you saw some greatness there.
Oh yeah, I mean, he even played out Widow. There was just a lot of, they just seem controlled. They know what they want to do. You even see when you have players like Jake, he did play 7 heroes, and that says a lot about him. He's not really known for any of them, actually, but he's known for being able to play any of them. So it's this really weird dynamic that not a lot of players possess right now, and just being able to swap and do whatever your team needs at that moment is definitely something that sets this team apart from, I think, some of the others.
Now, I understand you also have some plays that you do want to talk about from that matchup, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want to focus a little bit on Brazil right now anyway, because I did think that, again, I'm going to beat this dead horse over and over. They should have stuck to the triple DPS. Their only sign of life really here was on this push on Lunar Colony, where they did come out with the Reaper, with the Genji, with the Tracer. So you come in here with all 3 heroes, you have the Death Blossom, you have Pulse Bomb, you have whatever you need here, and they wound up in a situation where you can get the point, only if you do get kills. And again, they're not playing around their defense matrix. So they wound up in a spot right now where you have this Mei and Ice Block, you have a D.Va coming out of spawn, and you have, I think, a Zenyatta coming out as well, or whatever. I think it's Lucio. So they wound up popping Death Blossom right here, trying to get the kills onto the Mei, but then Coolmat comes in and saves them, but it's still not enough because Coolmat's now wasting his entire defense matrix trying to defend this Reaper, but at the same time you wind up not having it later. So suddenly now you're in a spot where Coolmat's wasting his matrix, you have all this damage coming out, and they did clean up that map, and that was the only time that they did finish the map. I think if you look at the VODs of them from the past 2 days, the only times that they've won fights, let alone finished maps, is when they don't have a D.Va on their team. So them bringing it back so much, again, I do think that they didn't play to their highest level of play that they can bring. I do think that they kind of out-meted themselves. I do think that they tried to do what everyone else is doing. It definitely hurt them, and I'm a little upset.
Yeah, it's sad to know because like we know the talent that the team possesses here. D.Va has kind of been a talking point for a lot of teams. You know, throughout the course of the Overwatch World Cup, kind of feel like either you have a good D.Va or a great D.Va, right? In the case of like someone like Coolmat, right, or Mickey for Thailand, or you don't. In the case of like Harry Hook for you know, for Spain. So it certainly is something that, you know, I think kind of it will make or break you in this one. So Zoe, you know, Brazil, they clearly have a lot that I know they want to work on, and I'm sure this isn't the performance that they wanted.
No, absolutely not. Given how confident they were going into this game, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. But oh God. But no, really, like they did show moments of greatness. We did see some good moves. I loved when they switched onto triple DPS. It really worked out better for them. Even when they switched Lyco on D.Va, I like that a little bit more than seeing Morris on D.Va. But you know, like it just ended up not quite being enough. I liked their first attack run on Horizon. I felt like it was a really strong showing, but yeah, there's still some games tomorrow. You know? Yeah,
there certainly are, right? And there's an opportunity for Brazil to be able to, you know, come out, you know, with a victory there with a couple wins in the W column. So we will not be seeing the last of them just yet. But you know what, guys? We still have plenty more matches to come, and I can't wait because it's going to be Chinese Taipei facing off against New Zealand. That matchup's going to be coming up next. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll catch you in just a few.